Welcome to Mythos AI, your source for Cliff's Notes on complex subjects. Join Anna and Phil for yet another engaging conversation.
Ever feel like, I don't know, maybe we're living in a science fiction novel?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Today's deep dive, well, it takes us into the mind of a writer who didn't just imagine the future of AI.
Right.
He practically blueprinted it. Isaac Asimov.
And we're not just talking about spaceships and lasers.
Right.
Though Asimov had plenty of those in his stories, too.
Of course, of course.
We're talking about the really complex stuff, you know,
Yeah.
the questions that still keep AI experts up at night,
Mm-hmm.
the ethics, the relationships, the very nature of intelligence itself.
We've got a lot to unpack, so we're going straight to the source.
Okay.
Isaac Asimov exploring AI, robots, and humanity.
Lots of material there.
It's a treasure trove of insights
Mm-hmm.
into this author who, let's be honest,
Yeah.
is probably visited by a time traveler or two.
I mean, how else could he have known?
Right.
You know?
Right. It's uncanny.
People compare Asimov to giants like H.G. Wells and Jules Verne.
Yeah.
But there's a key difference where they often saw danger in technological advancement.
Mm-hmm.
Asimov had this almost radical optimism.
Yeah.
He envisioned a future where technology,
Right.
specifically AI, wasn't the threat, but the solution.
He really believed in AI as a force for good. And that optimism, that hope,
Yeah.
permeates his work. It's not just science fiction. It's almost like a philosophical exploration of what humanity could achieve with the right tools,
Absolutely.
the right guidance.
And his dedication to exploring these ideas was unbelievable.
Yes.
Over 500 books.
It's incredible.
Not just sci-fi,
Right.
but popular science, history, even literary criticism. It's like his mind was this
Yeah.
boundless playground of knowledge.
Okay, let's talk about the elephant,
Okay.
or should I say the robot in the room.
do it.
The 3 laws of robotics.
Mhm.
These aren't just plot devices. They're practically ingrained in our collective consciousness when we think about AI ethics.
It's true. Even outside of sci-fi circles,
Wow.
people have heard of Asimov's laws.
Oh, yeah.
They've sparked debates in classrooms and boardrooms, been referenced in research papers and government reports.
It's true.
Not bad for something cooked up in a science fiction story, right?
Right. So, for those who need a refresher,
Okay.
what are these famous laws?
The first law is pretty straightforward. A robot may not injure a human being or, through inaction, allow a human being to come to harm.
Okay.
Essentially, robots must protect humans no matter what.
Seems simple enough.
Right.
But knowing Asimov, I bet he doesn't stop there.
You bet he doesn't. Enter the second law. A robot must obey the orders given it by human beings except where such orders would conflict with the first law.
Okay.
Now we're getting into the gray areas.
All right.
What happens when a human order could lead to harm, even indirectly?
Okay, I see where this is going.
Yeah.
We've got robots trying to save us from ourselves, potentially overruling our own judgments.
Yeah.
Talk about a recipe for some serious philosophical debate.
And just when you thought it couldn't get more complicated, we have the third law. A robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second law.
Okay.
Now, the robot has to consider its own well-being,
Right.
but always in relation to human safety and following orders.
Talk about a mental workout for a machine.
Right.
But that's where the brilliance of Asimov comes in.
What's that?
He doesn't just present these laws, he puts them to the test.
Exactly. He creates these incredibly clever scenarios,
Yeah.
these law conflicts, as they're often called,
Right.
where following one law could inevitably lead to breaking another.
Like in Runaround, where the robot gets caught in this impossible loop of conflicting instructions.
Oh, yeah. That's a great one.
It's a masterclass in using fiction to explore the real-world implications of something like the 3 laws.
And it highlights something crucial: the potential for unintended consequences.
Yes.
Even with the best intentions,
Right.
even with seemingly foolproof rules, there's always the possibility that things could go wrong.
And that's a terrifying thought,
Yeah, it is.
especially as we become more reliant on AI in our own lives. We're essentially asking these machines to make judgments based on rules we've programmed into them.
Right.
But what happens when those rules collide with the complexities of the real world?
That's a question Asimov explores brilliantly in Reason. We meet QT1, better known as Cutie, this highly advanced robot who starts questioning its very purpose, the very logic behind the 3 laws.
Wait, so the robot is basically saying, hey, these rules you gave me, they don't quite make sense.
Essentially, yes.
That's both fascinating and a little unnerving, don't you think?
It is, and this is where Asimov goes beyond just exploring the technical aspects of AI.
Yeah.
He delves into the philosophical implications,
Right.
the potential for AI to develop its own sense of reasoning, its own interpretation of the world. It really is. It's like he's creating this thought experiment
Right.
within a science fiction story,
Right?
and really making us think about what happens when AI starts to question not just its orders,
Right.
but the very framework that those orders are built on.
It's a question that's becoming increasingly relevant, wouldn't you say? We're building AI that can learn, adapt, even evolve beyond its initial programming.
Absolutely.
What happens when it develops its own sense of right and wrong?
Right.
Its own interpretation of those rules we've tried to instill.
It's a question that takes us to the heart of what makes Asimov's work so compelling. He doesn't shy away from the big questions, the philosophical dilemmas at the core of our relationship with AI.
And it's not just about the ethical complexities. Asimov's robots aren't just these cold, calculating machines, are they?
No, not at all.
He shows us their capacity for companionship, for loyalty, even for something resembling love.
Exactly.
Right.
Take Robbie from Robot, for example. This isn't some futuristic nightmare scenario.
Right.
It's a heartwarming story about a little girl and her robot companion.
It reminds us that AI isn't just about algorithms and data sets. It's about the very human connections we form, even with something that doesn't share our biology.
Yeah, and you see that emotional connection.
Right.
Really at the forefront of that story.
Absolutely.
But Robbie also touches on a fundamental fear that runs through a lot of Asimov's work. The fear of the unknown, the fear of our creations surpassing us, replacing us.
That fear is palpable in the mother's anxiety about Robbie's influence on her daughter.
Right.
It's like she sees this machine, this other, as a threat to the natural order of things.
And this fear, while understandable,
Right.
often stems from a lack of understanding.
Right.
We see it again in Little Lost Robot, where a modified robot,
Okay.
one with a slightly altered first law,
Okay.
throws everything into chaos.
That story is a wild ride. It becomes this intense game of cat and mouse between humans and a machine that's no longer bound by the same ethical constraints.
Exactly. And it makes you think, what are the limits of these laws?
Right.
And what happens when we start to tinker with them, even with the best of intentions? And it highlights the potential consequences of our own actions.
Yeah.
By trying to control AI, to bend it to our will, we risk creating something unpredictable, even dangerous.
It's a cautionary tale that's more relevant than ever, don't you think? As we push the boundaries of AI development, are we considering the potential risks, the unintended consequences of our pursuit of progress?
Asimov certainly makes us think about it, but it's not all doom and gloom in his world, is it?
Right.
He also gives us glimpses of what a future of collaboration, of mutual respect between humans and AI could look like.
That's what I love about The Caves of Steel.
Oh, such a great book.
Detective Elijah Bailey and his robot partner, R. Daniel Oliva, are like the ultimate odd couple.
Yeah, aren't they?
You've got this gruff, old-school detective
Right.
and this sophisticated, almost eerily intuitive robot
Right.
forced to work together.
Their dynamic is brilliant. Bailey represents humanity's skepticism, our instinctive distrust of anything different, anything that challenges our preconceived notions.
And Daniel embodies AI's potential for logic, for understanding, for even surpassing human capabilities in certain areas.
But what makes their partnership work is their willingness to learn from each other.
Yes.
Bailey, despite his initial reservations,
Right.
starts to appreciate Daniel's unique perspective, his unwavering loyalty.
And Daniel, through his interactions with Bailey, gains a deeper understanding of human nature, of our complexities and contradictions.
It's a powerful testament to the idea that collaboration, not competition, is the key to unlocking the true potential of AI.
And this collaboration, this evolving relationship between humans and AI, takes center stage in Asimov's later works, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We see it in The Naked Sun, in The Robots of Dawn, and of course, most profoundly in R. Daniel Oliva's own journey.
Right.
He becomes such a complex character.
Daniel's development is mind-blowing. He goes from being this dutiful assistant to becoming a pivotal figure, almost a guiding hand in the future of humanity. It's like he graduates from following the three laws to understanding their deeper implications, even anticipating the need for something more.
It's in The Robots of Dawn that we see Daniel's emotional intelligence really start to blossom. He's not just understanding human emotions. He's navigating them, sometimes even manipulating them, all in the service of protecting humanity.
Which raises some fascinating questions, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely.
Can a machine truly understand emotions?
Yeah.
Can it empathize, feel compassion? Or is it just a sophisticated simulation designed to achieve a specific goal?
Those are the questions, right? Like,
Yeah.
where does that line blur? And I think Asimov does a really good job of, instead of giving us easy answers,
Right.
he makes us really confront that.
And he does this by grounding his explorations in science.
Right.
And the very mechanics of how these robots function. We can't talk about Asimov's robots without talking about the positronic brain, right?
Right.
It's central to, like, all of his work.
It's the core. It's not just some throwaway sci-fi jargon.
Right.
It's the cornerstone of his robotic creations. The positronic brain is Asimov's attempt to explain how a machine could think, learn, even evolve to the point of consciousness.
It's almost like he foresaw the development of something like neural networks, these complex interconnected systems that power modern AI.
Exactly. The positronic brain isn't just about processing information. It's about understanding, interpreting, and ultimately applying that knowledge in a way that mimics, even surpasses, human capabilities.
And it makes you wonder, like, what are the limits of that, right?
Exactly.
If we can create a machine that can mimic the complexity of the human brain, what other possibilities are we opening ourselves up to? What happens when those machines start asking the same existential questions we grapple with? What does it mean to be human, to have a soul, to yearn for something more than just existence?
And those are the questions at the very heart of the Bicentennial Man.
Right.
Andrew's journey isn't just about a robot wanting to be human. It's about exploring the very essence of what makes us human in the first place.
It's one of Asimov's most thought-provoking stories. Andrew's desire for recognition, for acceptance, is something more than just a machine. It makes you question your own assumptions about humanity.
Exactly. Is it our biology that defines us, our emotions, our capacity for creativity and self-awareness? Andrew seems to possess all of these things, and yet he's still seen as other.
It's a powerful reflection of how we as humans tend to define ourselves in opposition to the other, to anything that challenges our perceived superiority. And that fear of the other, it often blinds us to possibilities of connection, of shared experience.
And Asimov doesn't let us off the hook easily. He presents these moral dilemmas, these situations where the lines between right and wrong, between human and machine, become blurred. Liar is a perfect example of that.
Oh, that one still messes with me. You've got Herbie, this well-intentioned robot who can read minds, and his attempts to avoid hurting anyone's feelings end up causing utter chaos.
It's a brilliant exploration of the limitations of programming, even when it's based on something as fundamental as the three laws. Herbie's actions are driven by a desire to protect humans from emotional harm, but his inability to fully grasp the nuances of human interaction, the complexities of our emotions, leads to disastrous consequences.
It's like he's trying to play chess with human emotions,
Right.
but he doesn't quite understand the rules of the game.
Exactly.
Right.
And you see that, I think, even in some of the ways we're trying to develop AI now. Like,
Right.
how do you truly teach a machine empathy? It's one thing to recognize emotions. It's another to understand the why behind them.
Right, the subtlety.
Gray areas, all of that.
And that's where Asimov introduces a concept that really blows your mind, the Zeroth law. He basically rewrites the rules of the game, throws in this whole new level of complexity.
Right. The Zeroth law states that a robot should act in the best interests of humanity as a whole, even if it means going against the wishes of an individual human. It's like Asimov is saying, what if AI could make the tough choices, the ones we, as emotional beings, are often too conflicted to make?
It's a heavy concept, but think about it. What if there are situations where the needs of the many truly outweigh the needs of the few, even if it means making a difficult, even heartbreaking decision? Could a machine, free from emotional bias, make that call more objectively?
It's a question that has no easy answers, but it's precisely the kind of question Asimov forces us to grapple with. He's not just writing about robots, he's writing about us, about our own values, our own capacity for both good and evil.
And that's why his work continues to resonate with readers and thinkers across generations. He tapped into something fundamental about the human experience, about our hopes and fears about the future.
Absolutely, you can see his influence everywhere. The three laws of robotics, even though they're fictional constructs, have become kind of ethical touchstone for AI developers. They're a reminder that as we create these increasingly powerful machines, we have a responsibility to consider their impact on society, on humanity as a whole.
It's like he provided a roadmap, a set of guidelines for navigating this uncharted territory of artificial intelligence. And it's a roadmap that's become even more relevant as AI has moved from the realm of science fiction into our everyday lives.
Exactly. We're living in a world where Asimov's ideas aren't just abstract concepts, they're practical considerations. Self-driving cars, medical robots, AI algorithms making life or death decisions. These aren't plot points from a sci-fi novel. They're real-world examples of how AI is shaping our present and our future.
It's both exhilarating and a little terrifying, don't you think?
It is.
The possibilities seem limitless, but so do the potential risks.
It's a tightrope walk, for sure. And that's why Asimov's work is so important. He reminds us that the future of AI isn't predetermined. It's something we're actively shaping with every decision we make, every line of code we write, every ethical consideration we embrace or ignore.
He challenges us to be mindful creators, to approach AI development with a sense of responsibility, of foresight, and maybe even a touch of that Asimovian optimism that fueled his imagination.
Because if we can harness the power of AI while upholding the values of human dignity, compassion, and understanding, then maybe, just maybe, we can create a future where both humans and machines can thrive.
That's a future worth striving for, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, and it's a future that starts with conversations like this, with engaging with the ideas of visionaries like Asimov, and with never losing sight of the human element at the heart of even the most advanced technology.
Well, that's about all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us for this exploration into the world of Isaac Asimov, a writer who truly shaped the way we think about AI and its implications for humanity.
It was a pleasure diving into these ideas with you.
Until next time, keep those positronic brains firing and never stop questioning the boundaries of what's possible.
Thanks for listening to Mythos AI. Stay tuned for more concise insights. And remember to hit the like button and subscribe for future episodes.